Welcome back to my channel. I'm Emerald the Quilter, and we have been making all of the quilts from the Perfect 5 Quilts book by It's So Emma. If you don't have your copy yet, you can purchase your copy using one of the links below in the description box. And as you can see, the Biscotti quilt is almost done. I have all of the rows assembled. Everything is up except for those borders. Now I wanted to take a moment to share with you what I'm going to be doing with all of the cutaways. As you can see, I have these little half square triangles. You should have 256. I lost one, so I have 255, and I want to show you how to make a mini quilt. Here is a close-up of all of my half square triangles except for 3. This is not a perfect square. As you can see, it is a rectangle. To make a mini quilt out of these into a perfect square, you're going to use 16 by 16. Now, I am making a table runner, so I just laid them out to see like what the ratio would be, how long I would want it to be, how tall, and I seem to be pretty happy with 12 rows and 21 columns. These half square triangles are about 1 3/4 inches, and I'm not even going to measure what the finished size is going to be. I'm just going to sew them up, and as you can see, because I was just laying them out, I have different the same fabrics next to one another because I was just trying to figure out, how tall, how long, and now that I know what is going to look good, I'm going to keep these dimensions here. I'm going to keep the same layout and just start stacking I'm going to call them aquas and my pinks. Now I'm not going to pay attention to what order I'm sewing them in because I want them to be mixed up, and there's so many. There's 255 total, and I'm using 252. I just want to get them sewn as quickly as possible, and as I am sewing them into longer strips, then I'll start paying more close attention to which fabrics are next to one another. So I'm going to say that for this stack, I'm going to have the aquas being sewn on my left and then the pinks being sewn on my right. And then with this stack, I'm going to have the opposite. So the aquas will be on the right and the pinks will be on the left. It's going to work out because they are all different shades. So it's okay if they're touching in color. I'm not going to try to make them one pink, one aqua, pink, aqua, pink, aqua. I think that's a lot of work for a little table runner. But I will just start being more mindful as these rows start coming together. Okay, so that's four little stacks, and then I'm just going to swap again. And I'm going to keep doing this until I have all of these little half square triangles onto my design board. Now I have all my half square triangles laid out into stacks. I did not count them, so I don't know if there's an even amount. The purpose of this was just to get them mixed up by the different fabric types and by shades, and then also just separating the colors themselves. So I don't want too many aquas and too many pinks touching. Like I wouldn't want 5 pinks touching in one single row or in one single column. So by mixing up the shades and the fabrics and sewing them with one color on the left and one color on the right, and then doing the opposite, it's going to help me distribute my fabrics a little bit more evenly and also not have to track all 252 little half square triangles by taking a picture and then going back and forth looking at them. So this is just to mix them all up. My stitch length is set to 1.5. I did not square any of these up because I did my very best to cut them, measure them precisely, and they might be off just a little bit, but it's just a table runner. It's a bonus project. So I have my leader ready to go. My stitch length is at 1.5. And then I'm just going to start sewing these. And when you look at them, I'm going to sew right here. There's going to be some give. So if yours are not exact, these two pieces happen to be very exact, you can tug on it just a little bit and shift it. Now it's exact going across this way, but when I look on the other side, do you see that? It's like maybe a 32nd of an inch off, but with a little bit of tugging, a little bit of shuffling, it won't be noticeable in the quilt top. So what I'll have to be very careful as I move forward is getting these rows to line up with one another so that my seams intersect. That's going to be where I'll have to be paying attention just a little bit more. Now I'm just going to sew all of these. I don't know how long it's going to take me. So I'm just going to put a little bit of music on. Let me know in the comments below, how are you using your cutaways? Did you save them? Are they going to be leaders and enders? Are you just going to make something completely different than what I'm making? I'd love to know. Okay, now you can see here that I ran out of pinks, And it looks like I may have way more aquas than pinks. We're going to see how that affects the quilt. And I'm just going to bring these down to continue mixing them up. But we're just going to have to see how it goes. When they were all laid out on the table and they were not organized in any way at all, standing back and looking at them, it still looked really cute. So I'm not too worried that it's going to make a negative impact on this little mini quilt. Okay, this little piece here, let me see if I can zoom you in. Where my finger is at. Let me just cut it off. Okay. This square here, when I flip it over, you see that? I'm going to set this one aside because I need to know as I move through this quilt if I should center this more so there's a little bit of gap on either side, or if I should leave it as is. Now, I had 3 left over, 3 half square triangles. I'm going ahead and sewing them, so it may not even be necessary for me to include these in the quilt, but what I do need to pay attention to is that there is always, see right here, always a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So this looks like it is right at the 1/4 inch. If I bring it in any more, there might be too much, but also this is an itty bitty tiny piece. Now, if it's in another seam, it might be okay. So these are just all things that I have to consider. So I'm going to set this one aside and continue sewing the other pieces. So here, I just wanted to point out that I have two prints, different colors next to one another. I'm going to avoid or try avoiding sewing these together. Now, when they're in the entire quilt top, I don't think it'll make much of a difference, and there's no preventing them from touching later, but for now, I'm going to do my best to keep similar prints away from one another. And you'll see how as I continue and start getting my rows together that there won't be any avoiding it, but it's going to help a little bit with separating them for now. Okay, so I wanted to just share I just wanted to share that what I'm doing right now is called chain piecing, and as you can see, it's going to take me quite a bit of time to sew all of these together. So I'm going to sew these off camera, get them pressed open, and then come back to show you what the next steps will be. Okay, so I have sewn these half square triangles into pairs, and because I didn't want to have to lay them all out and decide right now which half square triangles were going to go into which row and then have to pay attention to which way I was going to press the seams, I just pressed them all open. So these are facing towards the dark, and then in between they're open. That way I can move them around later without any consequence. What I'm going to do is just add them into stacks, and I'm trying to keep them as much as possible to where they're alternating, but knowing that they are not all going to alternate because I intentionally did pick some, and I don't know why those two were there. But see, like here, these two pinks are going to touch, but that's okay because they're different shades and they're different prints. Same thing goes the other way. When I move this stack here and move this one over, these two aquas are going to touch, and that's okay because they're different prints and different shades of aqua. So I have this top row alternating, and then these, they are touching in color because there's going to be some distinctions in the quilt, but it is just fine. What I'm going to do is finish putting these into my 4 stacks here and then sew. So you can see now that I am being just more picky in the way that I am organizing these fabrics. What I noticed is that I seem to have left these little leaf prints for last. I guess I don't like them. And I'm trying to organize them in a way that they are not touching, and then also that the shades are all different. So, you know, these two are too close together. This one looks just right. This is the same print. This one looks pretty good. And then I just have like these four, which I can't make my mind up on how I want to organize them. Probably like this. And then this one like that. Well, these are the same print, just different shades. So I'm kind of left with these four, which I don't know what to do. And you can see that I set some aside because I had almost forgotten that I'm doing 21 columns, I believe, which means that I need to end in an odd number. So these are going to have to be taken apart, and they will be going at the ends. So I can just swap one of these out for another. Set these off to the side again, and problem solved here. And then I need to swap one of these out here, and I'm going to go with this one. Looks good together. So I'm going to set this aside, and these I'm going to have to get the seam ripper out to take them apart, because I do have an odd number of columns. And now, I think like that is better. Now I'm ready to finish sewing these up. Now these are ready to be pressed open, and what I'm going to do is set up my camera so that you can see how at this point I'm going to lay them all out to organize them in the way that I want, snap a picture, and then do my very best to keep them in that order, because with 4 half square triangles sewn together, that's pretty reasonable for me to be going back and forth between the picture and the sewing machine. So let me get these pressed open and I'll see you at the cutting table. Now I've pressed all of my seams flat and I have 4 half square triangles sewn together in this stack. And what I'm going to do is just start laying them out. So let me see, can you see right there? Okay, very good, you can see right there. And I just want to put them into rows as best as I can where there are no 2 fabric patterns touching. And I'm going to add 5 of these so that there's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and then I still need to rip these out to make 21. And let's see, can I zoom out a little bit more so that you can see better? No, that's as far as it's going to go. So I'm just going to scoot these to the side. And I'm going to continue adding. So there's 5 strips. And then I'm going to look to see, okay, you know, this one is going to look good here. That one looks, these 2 prints are pretty close, so maybe I want to move this here. That looks better to me. Oh, and then look at this, what I did here. I started with the dark side facing one way, and then I switched it. So you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. And let's see, if I move this over, I think this one here, and then this one here, I like that much better. Okay, I need a different one. There we go. Okay, now I'm ready. This looks good there. Now I know I have some of these little hexy fabrics with pink pieces and then red pieces, and I just want to distribute them. So here I have a pink hexy and a pink hexy. I'm going to add that one maybe over here. That looks good. And these are kind of side by side. They're diagonal, this little leaf print, but I think that'll be okay. Let's see. That one cannot go there, but it can go here. No, let me save that. This is the part that takes the longest, right? Is deciding where things should go. Definitely not. Definitely not. So can't have a hexie. That would be 3 aqua leaves together, so we can't do that. Here we go. This looks good. So that one's going to go there. That one can't go there because that's 2 of these leaf prints, which the more I see them, the more I dislike them. So yes, it's been verified. I do not like those. Let's see. That one looks good. These are the same, but because that flower is there, and this one doesn't have anything on it except a lighter stripe right there, I think it's going to be all right. And I'm going to continue adding. That one is the same, so it can't go there. These 2 are the same. This one can go here. This one can go there. That's 2 hexies touching. Don't want that. And that one is fine there. This one looks good here. And I'm just like making sure mostly that two of the more prominent prints, which are the hexes, and then these solid with white stripes, it comes in two more of the saturated colors. I'm just making sure that really those are not side by side, and then of course this leaf print is not right next to another one. I think it's okay if they're diagonal because they're going to be everywhere. There's no preventing that, but I'm going to do my best. Here. So let me just see if I can get, how many rows did I say? I said 12 rows. So this is about 3.5. It might help if I try to see all of them. So let me lay them all out. And I think because this is going to take me just a little bit, the design element of putting a quilt together always for me takes the longest because it's got to figure out where do I want to go. Does this look better or does that look better? I'm going to put some music on and keep on going. Here are my units all laid out. I think I did a pretty good job of keeping the same fabrics apart from one another, so they are either diagonal or one away from one another. And I'm pleased that I was able to get all the shades scattered about. You can see at the ends I seam ripped those pairs that I had accidentally sewn, and I placed them where I want them to go. Now all that's left is for me to take a picture so that I remember where all of them go, and I'm going to use a friction pen to mark which row it belongs in, starting with this one. So on the back I'll write 1, 2, 3, and so on all the way down to 12. And then I will be able to begin pinning my rows together. I've laid all of my units out. I took a picture, and I'm hoping that I don't make any mistakes. You can see that there is a lot, but if I do end up putting one in a different row, they're all mixed up enough that it should be okay. And I always have the opportunity in between each seam to move them around. So I've got my stitch length set to 1.5. And I'm going to start sewing all of these units together. This will put me at units or strips that have 8 half square triangles and then 5 half square triangles on each end. I have all of these strips sewn together, and I'm going to take them to the cutting table. And I'm not even going to press these seams open. I think I'll save that to the end and put them in the order that they belong. Now I'm going to show you a trick. The strips are long enough that we aren't going to have to run this chain twice. We're only going to do it once, and this is how. This is row 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 12, right? So these two strips are 8 each. And you see how it's very careful. I left this one down here. It's sticking out. I sewed that. I'm going to take this, put it down here, and I'm going to grab this strip. This is that seam that goes at the end, and now row 12 is completely done. So instead of having to chain piece all of these seams, laying them all out on the table, opening them up, and then laying them right sides together again and running these through the machines, I'm gonna finish this in like a minute, maybe 2 minutes, let's see. It just saves time. And if you keep your fabrics organized, you won't have any issues. Now I don't recommend this if you have short strips and the distance between the back behind the foot and the front is tugging, because then your stitch is, your 1/4 inch seam is going to be crooked and it's going to get tugged on. You don't want to pull your fabrics. So just when you have, you know, a nice loose strip, it's long enough for that, I recommend doing this. Now these are ready to be laid out, pressed open, and pinned. I pinned as many rows as I could before I ran out. So I've got just one little random pin in here. I have two laying on the table waiting for me. So I'm going to sew these, take the pins, and then prepare the others. so I'm going to take these, press them open, and pray that my points match up, and so far these are looking good. Pretty good. And I didn't trim anything. I hope that they're all like this. That would be really great. That would be really nice. This one's kind of tucked in there a little bit, but that's not bad. That's not bad. They look really good. Okay, so let me press these open. I'm going to lay them flat, get my pins that I now have to pin the other rows, and then I will show you how it's all coming together. Okay, I've got them all laid out on the table, and so far the points look really good. I did have to fix a couple of puckers. I'm considering fixing this one right here, and it only takes me like 30 seconds to fix those, so I might as well go ahead and do it. Some of these points, like this one, just barely got tucked in there, but I'm gonna leave it. Not a super big deal, because when you step back, it's just, wow, breathtaking. It's very busy, so it's so eye-catching that you don't see the points that did go away, and there's so few. But I'm really loving this. This is like the cutest bonus project that I have ever made. My table runner is all done. It's so cute and eye-catching. I just love all the happy colors. I've never made a quilt top like this with just pure half square triangles, and I always wanted to do that, and now I have. So I love it. This was the best bonus project for the Biscotti quilt behind me, and if you haven't made that yet, there's still time because I'm running behind. Now, I did not have enough fabric to add the borders around, and I had to order some. So as soon as that comes in, I will be able to add the borders, lay it all out on my floor, and then finally quilt it. In the meantime, I am going to quilt this one and have this one ready for you in the next video. So, and don't forget, what you got to do is get your lint roller, because this project with tiny, tiny half square triangles are going to cause lots of threads. And I have to get them all off of my shirt and all off of this table runner, because if I don't take the threads off of my clothes, or if I try my best and I accidentally leave just one, my son will find it and he will pick it off and he'll give it to me. Or he'll pick it off and he'll walk his little self to the kitchen and throw it away. He is so cute. So I gotta get the threads off of me and this table runner. And thank you so much for quilting with me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.